right. Yeah, a lot of the UAPs were first seen in the 40s. In the early 30s, Admiral Byrd did his expedition to Antarctica, uh, starting in 1929. But later on, the famous one where he had testimony in his flight log of having contacted a breakaway civilization there.
Inner Earth, right?
In Inner Earth in the 30s, and they supposedly took him with UAPs, guided his craft down, and so that was most likely the first, most recent UAP sighting that we have testimony of. Now, throughout history, there's been sightings back in the ancient times, the times of Christ, medieval period. There's images of these paintings, so it's been around for a very long time, but we don't really have witness testimony of people until the current day, written documents of their put out there. So you can get written document of the flight log of Admiral Richard Byrd, if you want to check that out. It's a very interesting experience that he had. We'll talk more about that later. And then after that, pretty soon after that, we had the Roswell craft that crashed in New Mexico. So they think that after Admiral Byrd's contact, they started to come out a little bit more, basically watching over us to prevent nuclear holocaust. That was his warning to him, was we need to stop exploring these nuclear weapons. It's going to be detrimental to our future, to the natural environment. And, his warning was pushed back from the White House. They said to keep it all hush hush. Continued working on research with nuclear weapons. Ever since then, there's been attempts to launch nuclear weapons. There's testimony of UAP coming up at the nuclear silos and shutting down the entire facilities with UAPs. Or not with UAPs, with those weapons that it's like an atom bomb and it's going to wipes out. What are the name of those? Do you guys remember those? You guys familiar with those?
What do you mean, the UAPs or the?
No, there's a bomb that they set off to shut off the electricity. It's
EMP.
It's a 3-letter abbreviation too. EMP.
EMP. Electromagnetic pulse.
Yes, they would shut down with EMPs several times. So then, when the Roswell craft showed up, supposedly they had figured out by then that they could down those craft with radar, and it would disable their propulsion system. So since then, they have not used radar, supposedly, because it could interfere with them, and they've established a treaty, supposedly, according to a lot of the stuff we hear. But you have to, consider that a lot of this may be disinformation. There's just different levels of disinformation. When the whole Roswell craft thing happened, it was then told to the public that it was just a weather balloon. And other people saw that there was cadavers, and there's all different other types of stories to it. We'll have to look into the different perspectives you can have on this, but there's basically two mainstream perspectives on this. You have the basic mainstream perspective that this was just a weather balloon. These people are fanatics. There's nothing going on here. And then you have the kind of the black sheeple kind of current information about it was an alien from outer space, a little green man from Mars. And that's what a lot of people are going to think, because that's a lot of the disinformation that's been put out there about these UAPs coming from outer space, coming from Mars. They very well may be, but I like to keep an open mind to these possibilities. And the research I've done on this shows that the crafts that they use operate by creating a depression in the gravitation, in a depression field in the gravity, depression in the gravitational field, I should say. And so they ride on that depression in the gravitational field in the atmosphere, and they can go through water and air. and turn on a dime, because they're operating on a gravitational depression with two beams, and those beams can intersect. So when they hit the other beam, they ride on the other gravitational depression without centripetal or centrifugal force. So it's not like they're being propelled by rocket power or firepower. They're riding on some type of other type of propulsion that we're not familiar with in the mainstream. But it's been exposed to us by many people. Bob Lazaar shared that it was propelled by element 115 in an island of stability state. But my research shows that it's actually more likely to be powered by copper inside of quartz, magnetic copper inside of quartz. There's been several artifacts that have been found from Atlantean civilizations under the ocean. One in Bermuda from Dr. Raymond Brown, that no metal could come within a foot or two of this object. It was a crystal pyramid with copper within it. And there's also been the Laserta files, which was the expose of a journalist with a supposed one of the sky people. And they told about how their crafts work, and they mentioned that they use copper in quartz as well. So what they do when they get people working with this in science and top secret military, they compartmentalize the information. So nobody knows how everything works with this whole thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they give out some disinformation to these people about some of the stuff that they don't want them to figure out, that's more simple than they've been told. So I doubt that they've been able to put element 115 in an island of stability state, but it is possible, and that very well may be the propulsion mechanism of it. But personally, I like to keep an open mind, and I feel like it's not that complicated. It's something that they've been trying to keep under wraps for a long time. And so you have to question, how long have they had this technology, and why have they not allowed us to use it? Because of the detrimental aspects of the technology we use, you would think that this would be superior and be able to supersede it. But as many people that are familiar with the military know, that they'll keep the high technology until it's been exposed by the enemy, and then they'll expose it to the public. And they've shown a lot of things, like they're making these UAPs be known, showing them on TV and showing footage from the military, top secret footage. They're showing things like in the movie Iron Man, where they have this hologram screen computers. People in the military that are high up can tell you that that's something that we already have. And it's surprising that they'd show it. There's little leaks that happen, I guess, and sometimes these things slip out. But obviously, they're not allowing us to show how it works. So they're not providing it to us to have and to tinker with and to share, or for spies to have access to. So there's a lot of questions there, but there's a lot to this stuff. And I like to consider these UAPs the sky people. George Van Tassel had a testimony of coming in contact with craft that landed down. I believe he said it was cigar shaped,